Imagine waking up every single day surrounded by nothing but endless blue water. No streets. No buildings. No land in sight for months. At first, it sounds peaceful, almost like a dream vacation. But what if that place wasn't a resort? What if it was your workplace, your home, and your entire world? This is the reality for thousands of sailors and Navy personnel who live aboard massive aircraft carriers. These floating giants are not just war machines, they are fully functioning cities at sea. Cities where people eat, sleep, work, shower and yes, use toilets every single day. Now here's where things get interesting. An aircraft carrier can carry over 6,000 people at once. That's the population of a small town, trapped inside a steel vessel, moving through the ocean for months at a time. So naturally, some uncomfortable but fascinating questions arise. How many toilets does an aircraft carrier actually have? Is it even enough for that many people? And more importantly, what happens after you flush? Does everything just disappear into the ocean? Or is there a complex system working silently behind the scenes to handle human waste without harming marine life? Most sailors themselves rarely think about it. They flush, walk away, and move on with their day. But hidden deep inside the ship is a system so complex, expensive, and sensitive that a single mistake can cause chaos for everyone on board. In this video, we are diving into a topic rarely discussed but endlessly curious, the toilets of an aircraft carrier. From how many exist, to how they work, to what actually happens to waste in the middle of the ocean. So stay with us, because once you learn how something as simple as a toilet works on a floating city, you'll never look at naval life the same way again. To truly understand why toilets on an aircraft carrier are such a big deal, we first need to understand how crowded life at sea really is. A modern aircraft carrier isn't just a ship, it's a floating military base. On average, these giants carry 4,500 to 6,000 sailors and officers during deployment. That includes pilots, engineers, mechanics, cooks, medical staff, and security personnel. Every single one of them depends on the ship for basic survival. Space, however, is extremely limited. Sleeping quarters are tight, with stacked bunks and shared rooms. Personal space is almost non-existent. Sailors work long shifts, often 12 hours or more, and when they're done, they return to the same ship that never stops moving. Now imagine all those people eating 3 meals a day. Aircraft carriers serve tens of thousands of meals daily. Food, water, and hygiene quickly become logistical challenges. Fresh water is produced on board using desalination systems, but even then, water usage is carefully controlled. Which brings us to hygiene. Showers are timed. Laundry runs on strict schedules. And toilets? They're shared heavily. On the largest aircraft carriers, there are around 400 to 450 toilets spread across multiple decks. That means one toilet is often shared by more than 10 people, sometimes far more depending on location and shift schedules. In normal homes, that ratio would be unthinkable. But at sea, efficiency matters more than comfort. Every flush, every drop of water, and every waste output has consequences. Unlike on land, you can't rely on city sewage systems or underground pipelines. Everything must be handled on board safely, cleanly, and without damaging the ocean. And this is where things start getting technical. Because on a warship, even a simple toilet isn't simple at all. If you've ever heard sailors talk about going to the head, you might think it's just strange Navy slang. But the truth is, The term has a long and surprisingly logical history behind it. Centuries ago, naval ships were much simpler than today's aircraft carriers. There were no advanced plumbing systems, no treatment plants, and certainly no luxury bathrooms. Only the ship's captain had access to a private restroom, usually located near the stern, the rear of the vessel. The rest of the crew, they had no such comfort. Sailors were required to use toilets located at the very front of the ship, an area known as the bow, or the head of the vessel. These early restrooms were built close to the waterline. When waves crashed against the ship, seawater naturally washed waste away. Another reason for placing toilets at the front was wind direction. Ships usually move against the wind, meaning odors would be carried away from living and working areas instead of drifting back toward the crew. Over time, the location became associated with the act itself. So instead of saying bathroom or toilet, sailors simply said they were going to the head, a term that stuck for generations and is still used today in modern navies around the world. But don't let the old name fool you. Today's aircraft carrier heads are nothing like their historical ancestors. They no longer rely on ocean waves or simple gravity. Instead, they are connected to advanced plumbing systems capable of operating anywhere on the ship. And while they may look familiar on the surface, what happens after you flush is far more complex than most people could imagine. In fact, that single flush sets off a chain reaction involving machinery, filtration, and strict environmental controls, all designed to protect both the crew and the ocean itself. And that's exactly what we're about to explore next. On land, flushing a toilet is effortless. Press a button, and everything disappears into a vast underground system that most of us never think about again. But aboard an aircraft carrier, flushing is only the beginning. When a sailor uses the toilet and pulls the flush, the waste doesn't go straight into the ocean. Instead, it enters a carefully designed onboard sewage system. This system exists for one critical reason: environmental safety. Naval vessels are not allowed to dump untreated human waste into the sea. International laws and military regulations strictly control how and when sewage can be discharged. These rules exist to protect marine life and prevent pollution, even in the middle of the ocean. So first, the waste is transported through sealed pipelines to a treatment area deep inside the ship. Here, it is divided into two main categories. The first is blackwater, solid waste, and sewage from toilets and urinals. The second is grey water, wastewater from sinks, showers, kitchens, and laundry rooms. Blackwater is the most dangerous and requires extensive treatment before disposal. Grey water, while less harmful, still needs filtration and monitoring. Everything is processed using mechanical systems, biological treatment, and filtration methods that remove harmful bacteria and organic material. This process takes time, energy, and constant supervision. And here's an important detail. Even after treatment, sewage can only be released when the ship is a safe distance away from land, usually several nautical miles offshore. If those conditions aren't met, the waste must be stored on board until disposal becomes legally and environmentally acceptable. So no aircraft carriers aren't floating pollution machines. They're tightly regulated, self-contained ecosystems where even human waste is treated with military-level precision. And in the next part, we'll break down exactly how this treatment system works, step by step. Deep inside an aircraft carrier, far away from flight decks and fighter jets, there exists a system most people never see, the sewage treatment plant. Once blackwater enters this system, the first stop is a biological treatment chamber. Here, naturally occurring microorganisms are introduced. These microbes feed on organic waste, breaking it down into simpler, less harmful substances. It's controlled, monitored, and surprisingly delicate. Next, the partially treated sewage moves into filtration units. These filters trap remaining solids and contaminants that weren't broken down in the first stage. Think of it as a microscopic safety net, ensuring nothing dangerous passes through. After filtration, the wastewater enters settling tanks. In these tanks, heavier particles sink to the bottom while cleaner water rises to the top. The sludge collected below isn't thrown away, it's sent back into the system for further breakdown, maximizing efficiency and minimizing waste. Air plays a crucial role here. Powerful air blowers inject oxygen into the system, helping microorganisms stay active and preventing harmful gases from building up. Without proper airflow, the entire system could fail, causing hygiene risks for thousands of sailors. Finally, the treated water goes through disinfection. Harmful bacteria are neutralized, and the water is tested to meet strict safety standards. Only after passing all these stages can the wastewater be approved for discharge into the ocean, and even then, only under specific legal conditions. What started as a simple flush has now traveled through a complex, expensive, and carefully controlled process, one designed to keep both sailors and the sea safe. But despite all this technology, problems still happen. And in the next part, we'll talk about one of the biggest issues aircraft carriers face. Even with advanced technology and strict maintenance, toilets on aircraft carriers are far from perfect. In fact, they fail more often than you might expect. One major reason is scale. These toilets are used non-stop by thousands of people, day and night. Unlike homes on land, naval toilets rely on vacuum-based systems and narrow pipes designed to conserve water and control pressure. While efficient, these systems are far more sensitive. A single mistake can cause serious problems. Items that seem harmless on land, such as paper towels, wipes, or excessive toilet paper, can easily clog the system. When a clog happens, it doesn't just affect one restroom. It can disrupt an entire section of the ship. And fixing it isn't simple. Maintenance crews must locate the blockage, depressurize sections of the system, and carefully clear the pipes. During this time, nearby toilets may be shut down, forcing sailors to walk long distances to find a working head. To reduce these issues, modern aircraft carriers use specially designed toilets with powerful suction and strict usage rules. Sailors receive clear instructions on what can and cannot be flushed. Still, clogs remain a recurring challenge. In some cases, entire sections of the plumbing system require deep cleaning using specialized tools and procedures. These maintenance operations are time-consuming, expensive, and absolutely necessary to keep the ship habitable. When you are living at sea for months, something as simple as a working toilet suddenly becomes critical to morale and daily life. And in the next part, we'll explore just how much waste an aircraft carrier produces and why managing it is such a massive responsibility. When you think about waste from a single person, it doesn't seem like much. But multiply that by thousands, and the numbers quickly become staggering. A modern aircraft carrier can host over 4,500 sailors during standard operations. Each of them uses the restroom multiple times a day, showers regularly, washes clothes, and eats meals prepared on board. All of this contributes to wastewater production. On average, a single sailor can generate several gallons of wastewater per day. When combined, an aircraft carrier produces tens of thousands of gallons of sewage and grey water daily. That's comparable to a small coastal town, except this town is constantly moving. Managing this volume requires constant monitoring. If waste is stored too long, it creates health risks. If it's discharged incorrectly, it can violate environmental laws and harm marine ecosystems. This balance makes sewage management one of the most critical yet least visible operations on the ship. Another important factor is separation. Blackwater, grey water, and bilge water are never mixed. Bilge water contains oil and fuel residues from engine spaces and must be treated separately to avoid pollution. Strict protocols ensure that each type of waste follows its own treatment path. Most sailors never notice this system unless something goes wrong. But behind the scenes, engineers and sanitation teams work continuously to keep everything running smoothly. It's an invisible responsibility, one that protects not only the crew but also the oceans they sail through. And finally, in the last part, we'll wrap everything up and reveal why this overlooked system is far more impressive than most people realize. When people imagine aircraft carriers, they picture fighter jets, powerful radars, and massive runways floating on the ocean. Very few ever think about toilets, pipes, or sewage systems. Yet without them, life on board would collapse within days. An aircraft carrier isn't just a weapon, it's a living ecosystem. Thousands of people depend on systems that must work perfectly, every single day, for months at a time. Food can be rationed. Sleep can be adjusted. But hygiene? There's no compromise. The fact that these ships can safely manage human waste in the middle of the ocean speaks volumes about modern naval engineering. Every flush represents planning, discipline, and responsibility, not just to the crew, but to the environment as well. From ancient heads washed by ocean waves to advanced treatment plants hidden deep inside steel giants, naval sanitation has evolved dramatically. What was once a basic necessity has become a complex science. So the next time you watch footage of an aircraft carrier cutting through the sea, remember this. Behind the jets and the power lies a silent system that keeps thousands healthy, the ocean clean, and the mission possible. If you found this detour into naval life interesting, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Sea Legends for more untold stories from the world's oceans. What surprised you the most about life aboard an aircraft carrier? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, stay curious and stay legendary.